What's up, guys? LQ here with the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. I'm really excited to be able to share my thoughts on episode one of the Boys spinoff, Gen V. Man, this was a this was a really fun watch. Now I haven't really caught up yet. So far, I've just watched the first two episodes, but right now I'm just talking about the first one. All right. So if you're watching this video, then you've almost certainly know that Gen V is a spin-off of The Boys, which in itself is a adaptation of the Boys comic book. And The Boys is a show that I've loved. It does this excellent job of kind of deconstructing the superhero show and the superhero genre in this very mature adult manner, some of it very adult, while also telling this really compelling story. So it might look immature on the surface, but it's actually telling this very compelling, mature story. I figured that if Gen V was half as good as the boys, then it would at the very least still be an entertaining show. And getting into the first episode, I gotta tell you, I'm really happy with where they're going with this show so far. Turns out that one episode in, Gen V is already a very, very good show. Not just a spin-off of The Boys, but it's a very good show in its own right. Now, like I said, the wheels might fall off, right? I'm only two episodes in personally, even though they've released four. The wheels might fall off, but so far it's excellent. The story's about a group of kids who are soups who are going to college to learn how to be heroes, but this is a very corrupt world that they live in, as we've already seen in The Boys. And a lot of corrupt people are out to take advantage. I love how original this show is while still paying homage to other things. If the boys took inspiration from Justice League and from DC comic properties, then I would say that Gen V is taking its inspiration from X-Men. I think that's a fair comparison. So again, it's a familiar concept, but it's completely original in its own right. You can see those X-Men inspirations there, but it doesn't lean on those X-Men inspirations. Just like the boys, you could see the Justice League inspirations, but it didn't lean on them. It didn't rely on them to be entertaining. You just saw them. Excuse me. Ahsoka, which is done now, but Ahsoka completely relied on member berries to be effective, whereas Gen V, it relies on good storytelling rather than look how we're connected to the boys or look how we're taking inspiration from the X-Men. No, it's got a good story here. You can see how the connections to the boys. You can see how they take an inspiration from X-Men, but that's more of a treat for the fans rather than a reliance to really enjoy the material. The characters all feel very genuine. They're fleshed out. They feel real. And Gen V, like the boys, it does a really good job establishing the world that these characters live in. And it also does a good job of introducing us to these new sets of superpowers, these crazy powers that these kids have. I mean, you look at Marie, she literally can control blood. So for her powers to work, she has to cut herself and then and then start manipulating the blood. I especially like Marie Moreau. Again, superhero that can control blood. Um, her discovery of her powers, it was a little contrived. It was this weird coming of age story. Um, I don't know. It seems like everything in the boys universe has to be worst case scenario, and that's kind of her story, right? It was this contrived coming of age story, a worst case scenario situation. But I did find her character to be very relatable. I found her character to be very grounded, definitely the most interesting. Really looking forward to seeing how her character grows as this series progresses. Going back to the worst case scenario, um, it does kind of annoy me how the boys' universe, how in this universe, if something can go horribly wrong, it's gonna go horribly wrong. Um, there was a scene in a bar where a super made a piece of ice into a bird or a butterfly or something, some flying thing, and he was making it fly across the room. And worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario happens where someone gets bumped and then bumps into this ice and the jugular gets cut. And literally, what were the odds of something that horrific happening? Almost zero, unless you're in the boys universe. If you're in the boys universe, it's high. It's high. Um, so that's pretty normal in this world. Seeing the worst possible thing that could possibly happen. Sometimes it feels, again, it feels a little contrived. The expected in this world is that the most unexpected thing is going to happen, and yeah, I don't know. The boys is like that kid in school who used who used the F word every other word, right? You knew this kid in school, and he used the F word every other word. At first, he was cool. He was fearless. He was this kid that man, he, he's talking like an adult. Eventually, however, that word started losing its power, and the kid kind of started becoming annoying rather than he started becoming annoying and unauthentic. To some degree, I feel like the boys' universe is that kid at school using the F word every other word. It's shocking at first, it's shocking and it's whoa, this is different. And over time, over time, you start watching it and you start kind of becoming numb to it a little bit. Um, it's like, okay, this is interesting, but it's not really adding anymore. That is a bit of a nitpick, though. And I'm almost certain that I'm in the minority where this is concerned. I think most people probably love the brashness of the boys and of Gen V. But again, it's a nitpick. The storytelling in episode one was great. It established a storyline where I can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to check out episode two, and which I already have. I haven't watched episode three yet. Um, but when I watched this one, I couldn't wait to check out episode two. It was like, gotta see what happens next. So, Gen V, episode one, very good. Definitely recommend. I'll be talking about episode two here shortly. What did you guys think of Gen V episode one? Let me know in the comments below.